Hey, what's up, everybody? It's TheFakeJake here, bringing you the first episode of what is now known as the Four Corners podcast, where we talk about anything with comics, games, TV shows, movies, and the like. And here to talk about them with me is a special guest of mine. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, my name is Clam. It's great to be here. We're at the second day of Starrcast here Friday morning. We're broadcasting live from the podcast movement stage. Right now, at the same time, we got Road Warrior Animal and Bubba Ray Dudley up on stage. They're interviewing with Sirius XM Radio, so it's just an amazing event here.
And what these podcasts are going to be is we're going to have four corners for each topic that I brought up: movies, games, TV shows, and comics. And we're going to have a short little discussion on each topic, so these podcasts aren't ridiculously long. And I think we should start today in the comics corner with the recent controversy of Bruce Wayne Batman recently, quote-unquote, coming out as atheist, but due to a lot of people's incorrect judgment, that's not actually the case. You want to elaborate a little further on that point?
Sure. The author of the book and also many other people have really chipped in, but when we really think about this as the author of the book, that's whose opinion is the one that we really need to go with. And the author, he comes out and tells us it's not so much that he's atheist, it's just that he has lost faith because of everything that's happened to him in his life, from losing his parents, losing Jason Todd at a time, losing other people in his life. It's not that he doesn't believe. He's in the DC world. He's met literal gods, but it's just that he has lost his faith. So I think a lot of people miss that part.
One thing that's kind of similar to that point that they said directly in the book is that he believes in the symbol of Batman and no other, earthly world creature, but he's met several, Superman and all those other godlike creatures, but no eternal being like that.
Exactly.
So is there anything else, or do we want to move on to our next point?
Well, I just think it was really, I think from the artist's point of view, it wasn't something so big. It wasn't something that he wrote expecting it to ignite the way that it did, but people looked at it and just took off, and that's kind of what our society is today, that they don't necessarily read into something before they hear something, then share it. So that's one of the things that we got to watch out for. Just because you hear something doesn't mean you know the actual story behind it. And a lot of people are quick to share and not quick to read and research.
Exactly. They hear one thing fly off the bottle and then realize, oh, this is actually something completely different. I should have researched more.
Exactly. But yeah, it's good. It's good for comic books because it gets people talking. A lot of people look down on comic books. Comic books got me started reading in school. So I love comic books. I love how they cross into pop culture. I even love how they, cross into the event here, where you've got Arrow, who is going to be performing here Saturday night against Christopher Daniels. So that is going to be great. I love how it crosses into our everyday lives.
And they even bring about, first world problems in the world that you don't really see as addressed nowadays in a whole lot of other places, but they find a way to tie it into their fictional stories.
Exactly.
So
what do we got next, Jake?
Next, we have in the games corner, in less than a week, we have Marvel's Spider-Man coming out by Insomniac Games, which I'm very excited for because it's been at least 4 years since we've gotten a solo Spider-Man title, and even longer since, in my opinion, we've had a good Spider-Man title. So this is actually really exciting to see. Do you have any thoughts on what this game could be?
From everything I've seen from this, from the gameplay videos, from people doing separate reviews, it's a beautiful looking game. I really like how they're expanding. They're not limiting it to a movie or limiting it to a current storyline in a book. I love that they're really taking Spider-Man, putting the stories that they can in, but it's just the gameplay looks amazing. I'm ready to get my hands on it, ready to get some playtime with it to see how it works. We all remember how Spider-Man 2, while graphically was not great, it was one of the best gameplay experiences. So this reminds me a lot of it, except for the polish is so much nicer. It looks beautiful.
And similar in that aspect, this also reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man, which to this day is still my favorite Spider-Man game because it was like you were playing a comic book, because both the story and the artwork looked like it was that of the comic series. And like Marvel's Spider-Man coming out, this wasn't based on a movie, so you could do a lot more with it. You could experiment more, and they still followed a great story without relating it to a movie.
Exactly. And speaking of Ultimate Spider-Man, you're getting ready to do a playthrough on that on your YouTube channel. So everyone go out there and take a look at it, youtube.com/TheFakeJake. And you'll be able to find that Ultimate Spider-Man playthrough. You'll be able to find the playlist from Starrcast and All In, as well as our PAX East playlist on there as well. Give us a subscribe, like, comment, share, and just check it out.
Well, thank you for that plug, sir.
There we go.
So are we ready to move on to our next topic, or do you have anything else to add?
Well, I think one of the cool things about the game is it's something that it's exciting. The Arkham games were really cool, but it felt like if you missed one or the other ones that you weren't really into it, and this is something that you don't have to have a lot of background to. You can just jump into the game. Like I said, I keep reusing this word, but everything I've seen on it, especially watching it on a 4K display, was just beautiful picture and background, and the gameplay looks amazing. So I'm excited to play it, and I haven't been excited to play a game in a long time. Too long.
One last thing I actually wanted to mention. In one of the E3 trailers for this past year, they teased the Sinister Six, and they were all forming up on Spider-Man, and it was Electro, Rhino, Scorpion, and for whatever odd reason, Mr. Negative, which I don't know why they're including that, because it's not really a villain that older comic readers will recognize, so I don't know why they're including him. However, they did tease the sixth villain with a shining light and a scared expression on Spider-Man's face. I'm thinking that could be either Green Goblin or Dr. Octopus. I'm leaning more towards Octopus. What are you thinking?
It could be any of them. The great thing about the older comic fan is they've seen many iterations of the Sinister Six, so they're not offended when they see something new. As long as a couple of the base members are still there, then it's another day at the park for any older reader. I've been reading for longer than most people that are going to listen to this being alive, so I've seen so many different iterations, and the great thing about being that way is just when something new comes in, you just kind of roll with it. I think the Sinister Six is great for a game because it gives at least 6 bosses that you can really kind of work through along with other side missions in there. So it's got a very nice definitive storyline with the intro, making it to the midpoint, making it to the final. That way you've got whoever's leading the Sinister Six at that time. So that'll be a great, I think, a great storyline, a great arc. And then I'm really curious to see if there's any type of multiplayer with this. I haven't heard if any of it was announced, but I think it would be kind of cool if they had a multiplayer and you could actually play as the bosses as well and let someone go through, but I don't think they have.
One thing, too, the beauty of these older Spider-Man games is each boss that they had within the game was different and unique to that respective villain. You know, the parts where you would go against Electro, you would have to dodge, obviously, blast from electricity. Some points you couldn't touch the ground. Rhino, obviously, you had to be a lot faster because he's a brute. He charges. And the thing about Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 is they made all the bosses unique to both the environment you were in and also the boss itself. Case in point, the iconic train sequence from the Spider-Man 2 movie. They made that into a boss in the game, and it was, you had to play along to that environment, and that was really creative.
Exactly. It was awesome. Here yesterday at Starrcast on Thursday, we watched PCO out here perform, and it just reminded me how easily he could fit into a video game because it was truly, if you guys have never seen PCO's show, go on to twitch.tv/Starrcast. Starrcast has 2 R's, and you'll look for the day one videos. There'll be one in there. It's about an hour and a half long. The last quarter of it is the PCO show, and it's just amazing. It's unreal. It's recommended for mature audiences just because there's a little bit of violence in there with it. But he could easily fit in a video game. He could fit in a movie. He could fit in a comic book. PCO is not human, and it was just an amazing experience watching that yesterday. And if you do watch that, then you'll see it at about 1 hour and 16 minutes. TheFakeJake makes a cameo in there with Matt Stryker and Alicia Atout.
Oh my gosh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, you were there. Did you forget?
I must have. Anyway, so do we want to move on to our next topic now?
Sure. Let's move into the movies.
So, sticking to the Spider-Man theme, let's talk about Venom. Now, I know when it comes to Venom on the big screen, we all think of that terrible Topher Grace Spider-Man 3 thing, which let's just try to forget about that, as hard as it may be, and think about this new Venom coming onto screen, which happens to be Tom Hardy. So what are your thoughts on how Tom Hardy could play this role?
This movie I'm really torn about because looking at the intros, or excuse me, the trailers, not the intros, it's about the same thing. But looking at the trailers, it's easy to get kind of excited about it because some of it looks great. It reminds me more of the Netflix shows that really do a deep dive into a character but don't necessarily connect. I'm really confused at how he's going to connect with Spider-Man's world
Especially
after the movie.
considering that they're not introducing Spider-Man in this universe because Sony's now created a new movieverse called Sony's Universe of Marvel Characters, and at least at this point they're not introducing Spider-Man, so it's curious to see how they're going to even incorporate Venom because you can't have Venom without Spider-Man.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting. They've got so many Spider-Mans in movies now that they can literally do a Spider-Verse movie because they've already got 3, and they may even end up with another one with this Venom universe. So
they're already doing an animated Spider-Verse movie at the end of the year.
yes, but let's remember, everyone hates clones.
Yeah, you are not wrong there. So is there anything you want to say more about Venom?
Well, talking about how Venom could have made a good Netflix is a good segue into our TV series. And right now we've got our lead up, the upcoming, show season, the fall TV season. It's really weird talking about TV seasons in this way because now we're in this day and age, we're in a binge and consume where we don't necessarily tune in week to week at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock anymore, or Monday at 8. Now, granted, us wrestling fans, we're there Monday at 8 o'clock, we're there Tuesday at 9 o'clock. We're there whenever ROH pops up on Fight TV. For those of us that aren't in the Sinclair market, we're there whenever we can catch Impact. I love them, but Pop TV is not a great option. But, most of today's society is no longer, appointment TV. It's download TV or it's DVR TV. So,
and it's because of that option where you can just watch everything all at once and you don't necessarily have to wait for anything. You can just see it all one after the other, and there's really no suspense built up in between because if they end with something really crazy, you can figure out what it is in a matter of seconds as opposed to actually watching it live where you would have to wait a week or more.
It is. One of the things I want to do this year is make sure to try to return to that appointment TV. That's one of the great things. Before, this generation doesn't really know as much about like appointment TV. That was like family night. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, if there was a show you wanted to watch, everyone sat down and watched it. So everyone was, at least forced to spend 30 minutes or an hour together and get to know each other, understand what the other ones liked, and it was just something that's missing. The great thing about, this binge and watch society now is that whenever someone says you start talking about a show and they're 6 seasons in, they're like, oh, how am I going to get caught up? Just go to Netflix, go to Amazon, go to Hulu. You can catch up all these videos there. Twitch even runs a lot of great catch-up specials on there. They just ran a 26-season review of Doctor Who that lasted for like a month and a half. So it's an easy way to get caught up. And, we've definitely got someone getting caught up on Arrow right now, which is, I think, very, very nice because this weekend we have Stephen going against Christopher Daniels again. So we've got Arrow here
Stephen
at
for the win,
Starrcast
boys.
and All In. Yes, Stephen Amell. I'm sorry. If you're listening to this, you probably know who that name is. Christopher Daniel, however, the Falling Angel, SCU, is going to be there competing against Stephen Amell in his first singles match. Stephen Amell is undefeated, member of the Bullet Club. So it's going to be great to see that again, but alas, we were talking about his new TV series coming up, the 7th, is that correct?
That is correct, the 7th season of Arrow, which I'm honestly surprised that it has gone on for this long, and I'm hoping that it can go on for longer, but I'm honestly not sure. I'm a little torn on this one because things look a little bleak.
I literally wish we were on video because as we're sitting here in the Hyatt Regency Hotel, it looks like 7 different planes worth of stewardess just left at the exact same time, all dressed in the exact same, all carrying the
I'm
same
looking at it,
luggage,
yeah.
walking out the door. It's amazing. Hopefully that was a vivid description for you guys that are just listening to it. It's great watching everybody walking around here today.
And you guys that are actually here, you probably just saw it too.
And that's what we call a squirrel, people, because we were talking about the 7th season of Arrow. So, Jake, go ahead, lead in here.
All right, so one thing I said, I'm torn about this season because parts of it that I've seen look great, but parts of it kind of scare me too because from what you've seen in the Comic-Con trailer that was shown, there's obviously a new person running around in the Green Arrow suit, but just looking at the way that they move and the way that they're behaving, the mannerisms, and judging by the fact that it was confirmed a couple months ago that Colton Haynes, Roy Harper, is going to be coming back as a season regular for this season, it makes you kind of put two and two together there and think that it's Roy in the suit. However, a lot of people, and I don't see why, but people are under the impression that it could be John Diggle putting on the hood again, and I don't really see why, because when he was Green Arrow, it didn't get a lot of positive reception. I didn't particularly hate it, but it was something different. And even just looking at the figure in the trailer, you can see that there are two things that tells me that this is not John Diggle. One, when he was Green Arrow, he was using a crossbow because, as stated, he's not an archer. Mm-hmm. And this figure is using a bow and arrow, so it's clearly not him. And also, there's no one really that can parkour like the figure does apart from Roy. You don't know many that are that acrobatic, and John especially is not.
Yeah, it's kind of... I'm leaving it kind of open for who Arrow is going to be. I don't think it's actually one of our existing characters we've seen yet, or someone that we've seen in quite some time. We just saw Roy this past season. We just saw Diggle don the hood this past season. I don't think it's going to be either one of those.
Really?
However, what I am really looking forward to this season is the return of Derek Sampson, Cody Rhodes playing his role. I'm especially with knowing that, in previous seasons, I can't remember exactly which season it was, when Arrow stopped Sampson and he got sent to jail, and now Arrow's...
That was season 5.
Yeah, and now he's going to jail, so I think it's going to be a rough, violent first couple episodes. He's going to be getting beat up in there. I think someone's going to let out who he is once he's inside of there. Well, never mind. He actually said who he is.
He actually said who he is.
He did the I Am Iron Man moment at the end of the episode.
And they were even taunting him, as he walked through the prison. And one thing that I'm really hoping for is, because they kind of messed this up with The Flash last year, I'm hoping he's in prison for at least a couple episodes, like 3 or 4, because one of my biggest problems, this is kind of a sidebar, but one of my biggest problems with The Flash season 4 was after he went into the Speed Force at the end of season 3, they instantly resolved it in the next episode, and they didn't, it didn't really have any consequence because it was resolved way too quickly. And even sticking to the Arrow theme, towards the end of season 5, when they had the massive cliffhanger where Prometheus, killed himself and blew up the island, that was resolved in the very next episode, Who Lived and Who Died. And there really wasn't a whole lot of consequence to it either. Most of the main cast survived, and only 3 characters were affected, and only one of them died.
Yeah, that's some good points there. I think this season is going to be very, very different. I think they're winnowing down the team. They've gotten so big, so many extra characters. I hate that Quentin died, but I also realize it's, that completed the story.
They almost have more characters than Legends of Tomorrow.
Exactly, and this is supposed to be a show about Arrow. So I do like that they're kind of winnowing it down. I was really scared about how they were doing the sun angle this past season. I told you at the beginning of the season I thought it was going to be horrible, and now I'm eating my words because they did pretty good with it. It wasn't as prominent as I thought, and I think that's why they did pretty good with it. They just kind of let it go in the background and filter into everything else. With the new season, one of the things I would just literally love to see if somehow we could get a shot of Stephen Amell in either a Bullet Club shirt or a Young Bucks shirt, just to see that nod to all the fans.
Or actually, because there was a shower scene in the Comic-Con trailer where he's fighting against some of the people that he put in prison, and I would love if Derek Sampson just ripped off a Bullet Club shirt and began cleaning house with Stephen.
I like everything you said except for the shower. I don't really want to see that type of accommodation. Maybe out in the cell room, but they are in prison, so they're probably going to be wearing gray or orange, or if they really want to go campy, they're going to be wearing stripes and stuff.
And
everybody is cheering in the background for the Sirius XM booth over here, so that's the noise you hear. Again, we're at Starrcast Live Day 2 on Friday.
2 things that I'm looking at this season, just to quickly finish up. It looks like he's going to be donning more the classic Oliver Queen goatee from the comics, which is something I'm excited to see.
I think he's trying to. I don't think it's growing in. He's got the same thing as me. He's got kind of a Joe Dirt. It only gets to a certain point and it stops.
Yeah, come on, get the full facial hair like me. So one thing, too, that I'm kind of curious about is he's put a lot of villains in prison. He's also killed a lot of villains, which, topic for another day. But he's put a lot of villains in prison, like I forgot his name, but the Wolverine knockoff with the fake
I
claws on
remember
his
that
hands.
character too.
I forgot his
He
name.
was a smaller character. I hate to say it because it sounds like, oh, somebody out there is going to be like, what do you mean you can't remember blank? But hey, he wasn't as big a character in the show. He wasn't even that big of a character in the books, and this is from somebody who's been reading since the 80s. So
I agree.
I'll give you that one.
And they have people like Daniel Brickwell, who was kind of the boss, mini boss of season 3 when Oliver was supposedly killed by Ra's al Ghul. And
we almost forgot. Diaz is still around.
Diaz is still around, which is kind of a different change because at the end of the seasons, most of the villains have died because for the past 3 years, Ra's al Ghul, Damien Dark, and Prometheus died at the end of the season. So it's interesting what they're going to do with Ricardo Diaz here. Now, what I think is going to happen is at the end of season 6, he name-dropped a team called the Longbow Hunters, which in the show is supposedly Kodiak, Silencer, and Red Dart. And the way I'm seeing it is they are going to, because, obviously you can say that Diaz is a cut above the rest when it comes to fighters and taking in pain, because in the end of the season 6 finale, he got stabbed in the chest with an arrow and just shook it off, got shot a couple times in the chest and just got up. So it's going to be different to see what they're going to do with him, but the way that I could see it going down is the Longbow Hunters, either all 3 of them or one of them, just completely murdering Diaz and showing that they are going to be, the worst type of threat that Green Arrow has ever gone up against. And I'm a little scared too, because one of my biggest problems with the start of season 6 is that they had, your biggest problem was that they had a team of superheroes. One of my biggest problems is that they had a team of villains. Like they had guy from Lost, Caden James.
Mm-hmm.
They had Vigilante, who was killed off right as he became interesting. They had Anatoly, who turned good.
And it's very interesting you mentioned Anatoly. One of the things that they didn't emphasize enough in the episode is that as soon as Anatoly heard about the Longbow Archers, the next scene you see himself in, he's turning himself into the police and the FBI. Anatoly is a mob boss from Russia that is trying to set up a operation here. He's fought against Arrow, he's fought against Diaz, he heard the name Longbow Archers, and he went directly to the FBI and police. So Anatoly is scared. And I don't think they emphasize that as much in the episode, but once you see that, it's just like, wow, that's your wow moment. Hey, the big Russian mobster is scared.
Yeah, that's your epiphany moment.
Maybe somebody needs to give it a little bit more thought. But I think the Longbow Archers is going to be the long arch, pun there, of the season, because I think the beginning of it, we're going to get Derek Sampson, and we're going to get the jail story where he's stuck in jail until he can finally somehow get out. And then I think the Longbow Archers are going to be playing in the background until we get to about the mid-season point, and they're probably going to then take over the rest of the season from there. That's just, an somewhat educated guess.
I'm just hoping it doesn't go on too long, because they had Caden James, who wasn't even the real villain for season 6, go on for 13 episodes before being finally killed by Diaz. So that was kind of one of my problems with season 6 too, is while Ricardo Diaz was good as a villain, he really wasn't developed apart from that one episode called The Dragon.
Exactly. So as we, kind of wrap up our 4 corners here, we're going to have a little bit of an extra category today. We're talking about Starrcast and All In because we're here. This is just an amazing experience. We're staying at the Hyatt Regency, so we don't even have to drive and shuttle in. There's no offense to anybody doing it. We just wanted to be able to be close to all the action. But it is amazing. Conrad Thompson and his team have, hey, it's Conrad. Most of you guys have heard of him. He's the Podfather, but he has really put together an event here for fans, an event for wrestling fans, an event for even pop culture fans, because people that aren't diehards can enjoy everything they're seeing here.
And this is even something that the newbies can get into also.
Exactly. Some of the great people what's been your favorite experience here so far?
Well, if you're talking about personal experience, during the PCO show, they kind of just threw me in front of the Twitch camera when I didn't expect it. So that was a pretty good experience. And, just talking with the guys, you want to be careful around him, because if you take him off, he could probably rip off your arm. Like I said, he's not human.
That's right. He is not.
I mean, shot to the heart, that's the best way to say it. They were throwing darts at his chest. So.
I think for me, being a fan, coming to a big fan fest like this, meeting Conrad, getting a picture with him was really great.
Poor
but also,
Conrad. he's probably going to be dead by the end of this event.
He is,
just
and I hope
yesterday.
it doesn't wear him out so he doesn't do another one. But if he doesn't do another one, I would completely understand. There's Monday morning, this man is going to drop and probably wake up on Thursday.
He's probably going to need more than one brace by that point because he's already got one on his foot.
But it's an amazing experience. Just simply having this podcast movement set up here so we can come here and do a show. That's amazing. It's
and honestly, just interacting with the other fans and the people that are like this is a treat of its own.
Exactly. Now, we also have the All-In event on Saturday night. I know I am really looking forward to the Cody and Nick Aldis event, and I know that you are really looking forward to Stephen Amell and Christopher Daniels. SCU.
Yes, I am. And one thing that I'm also interested to see is the Macaulay Culkin Bunny Ears podcast that Josh Shigara, a.k.a. Prometheus, is going to be popping in on. So I'm curious to see how those two are really going to interact and what they're going to bring.
Do you think Shigara's going to do a run-in Saturday night?
I mean, it's wishful thinking. I don't anticipate it, but...
Yeah, he needs to come in like full costume and everything.
And the theme music and all, because...
the theme music is going to be kind of hard, man. This is going to be 10,400 of the loudest people you've ever been to. I've been to many shows. I've been to WWE shows, and WWE shows are great. You know, I've been to WrestleMania, but there are times that people are just sitting on their butt, or there's a parent in there that brought their kid, and the parent doesn't care anything about it, and they're just there because the kid wanted to come. This event is going to be an arena full of people that in 29 minutes sold it out, flew from across the world.
10,000 seats.
I really wish somebody would have a decimal meter in there.
And one thing that was funny, too, we were just looking at the tweets for this event as it was leading up to it. There were over 9,000 tweets by the Starrcast crew. It was insane.
Exactly. We're here with the podcast movement, and while we're here at Starrcast, I want to give a shout out to the AJ Awesome Show. If you guys have never seen the AJ Awesome Show, search it either on Twitter, on YouTube. AJ Awesome Show is where you're going to find him. It's a great show. This kid does interviews with all of the talent that's here. I've seen him interview Cody. I've seen him interview Nick Aldis. I've seen him interview Flip. Flip is not booked, by the way. But just give a shout out to the fake, or excuse me.
I mean,
we are the fake Jake.
You can do that too,
but give a shout out to AJ Awesome Show. Go and check his stuff out. Give him a subscribe. This is what we need to be really getting behind. People that are really jumping up and taking something, especially from a young age, just like yourself, and it's awesome. People can have
I think you just pulled an Iris West with the "We Are the Flash" moment there.
I don't know about that, man.
Oh, let's not bring it. That's a topic for another day. So we're actually going to wrap this up, and we're actually going to have a second podcast coming, so you guys can look forward to that. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this first one. It was definitely a new experience for me, definitely new experience for Clam here as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know,
where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook at TheFakeJake, also on Twitter at TheFakeJake2, Twitch at TheFakeJake1. Yes, I know the numbers are different, but
branding is a pain in the butt, people. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do that. Any of you that's thought about doing one of these podcasts or being an entertainer, making sure you get the same name across every platform is almost impossible, and none of the platforms will help you do it, by the way. So that's just
you got to do it all yourself.
A rant. Sorry.
Oh, we can probably make a bigger rant on one of our future podcasts if they like.
But don't you have a website also? What's that website?
I do have a website, actually. Thank you for mentioning that. You can find me at TheFakeJake.com, where I don't know if our old slogan is still there. It was called Get Your Fix for a long time. I don't know if that is still there or not.
It may be. I think we've set it up a little bit more like a gallery showing our different type of showings. The Starrcast playlist will be there very soon. We've got the PAX playlist up. We've got links to our Twitch channel on there. My name is Clam79. You can find me at twitch.tv, Clam79. I may have something coming up soon, but I mainly just work here with the Fake Jake, putting out the show, getting everything ready. It was awesome talking to you guys today. Can't wait for the next episode. Watching people rolling in here with luggage is just an exciting event. And I want to thank the podcast movement, thank Westwood 1 for just giving us this opportunity and letting us film this show here today.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys in the next episode of The Four Corners, and until then, thanks for watching.